If everybody wants to mute themselves, Leslie, it should be down in the bottom of your left side. There's a little microphone, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Just eliminate the background noise, and I'll shut up.
Okay. So, as most of you know, I went to what? Richard, mute yourself, please. We love you, but we don't want to hear you. There you go. Thanks, Richard. So this past weekend, I went down to an event called Beachbody Live, which was a men's-only event. Very different for Beachbody, and it really wasn't run by Beachbody. It was run by the male leaders within Beachbody. A lot of the founding coaches were there, and a lot of very high-profile coaches that have been very, very successful in this business, kind of spewing their wisdom on how a guy can help work this business, as well as the women who seem to crush it. And you can just look around and, you see me and there's Richard over there. We're the only two guys on this call, and everybody else is women. So it's a woman-dominated business. And the women have been very successful, top coaches for the past few years, and really crush it. And a lot of that has to do with relationships. So we had a lot of discussions about that. We had some great people speak, Bob Lucido and Keith Callahan, who were part of their teams. They had a big section. They worked really well and told us all sorts of great stuff. We heard from a guy, PJ McClure, who's really all about mindset and understanding. He was an interesting guy. He's very religious. So his advice to the guys was really about if you see a woman that's older than you, treat her like your mother. If you see a woman that's around your age, treat her like your sister. And if you see a woman younger, treat her like your daughter. And basically it was be mindful of your eyes and don't be a creep. So that was a lot of, the harsh stuff that was said. It was a very open and honest event. And to say that there were a few F-bombs, there was language was unfiltered, which kind of made it fun. Hey, Bill. Mute yourself. So it was a great event from that way. We also heard from a lot of the other coaches out there: Chris Reed, Robin Hutchins, Mike Ryan, Dave Ward. Bill, can you mute yourself? Oh, you did. Excellent. Thank you. Mark Briggs was there. Vito LaFada. Stop. I'm talking. Shut up, woman. Pete Pena, Dave Ingram. Josh Spencer was a top coach in 2010. As well as we had a special presentation from Bo Eason. Now, I had no clue who Bo Eason was because I was never a really big football fan growing up, because I lived in Connecticut and we were devoid of any sports team besides the Whalers until they moved. So sports was never a big thing for me. But Bo is he's I guess the number one safety in all of the NFL. Had a storied career and got injured and then went on to become a Broadway show writer and had his own show on Broadway, and it was like one of the top acclaimed shows of all time. So he came and he spoke, and it was really a Richard, mute yourself. Thank you. Okay, it was very interesting. And this is the first thing I'm going to talk about is kind of what he talked. It was one of the things I took away. And so I'm going to talk about a few things that I took away. And he was big on telling your story and let your story do the talking. A lot of times when we start talking about Beachbody and about us and, I've done this, and this is what you can do. And we get so excited and wrapped up in that we never really connect with the person on a really deep level. So I came back and I started talking to Lisa about it, and she didn't quite understand what I was talking about your story. And I said, I said to Lisa, I'm like, your story is that you were, a single mom, living, with your mother, working at the Olive Garden crazy hours, trying to make ends meet. You became, gained weight, and then you started to, work that out in your life, and you've been very successful, and you found Beachbody, and you found programs that worked, and lost weight, and now you run your own business, and you're able to do the things you want to do in life. And she was kind of set back by that, because she was like, you know what? I always started my story at my weight loss. But the thing that I thought, and this is what she realizes now, is that by starting back at the whole, divorced single mom, that's where the connections are made. And that's where a lot of people can relate to you. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I've struggled as a mom sometimes, or not being able there. And I said, when she was able to stay home with her kids by working Beachbody and being home during the summer and taking advantage of that, as a mom, right away, when I say that to you, to the mothers out there, you connect on the fact that, oh, you know what? I'd love to be home too with my kids during this summer. That would be awesome, but I have to work. Well, now you've just connected, and you've created some inroads with that person on a level that is not discussed. She didn't say, oh, we're just like each other. You have kids and I have kids. Wouldn't you want to be home with them? That was done on a whole nother level, subliminally. She talks, when you talk about, struggling and working at the Olive Garden, crazy hours, many people can relate to saying, you know what, there's been a time in my life that I had to work shitty hours, and I wasn't there for my family, and I was making crap money, and I can relate to those financially tough times. And when you can connect with people on those levels, it makes all the difference in the world, because now they trust you more. One of the things that Bo had mentioned, he gave this statistic, was that people believe 50% of what comes out of your mouth, but they believe 100% of your physical moves. So when you're telling a story, you want to, try to relate and reach out and, use your hands and make eye contact and be animated with it. Don't be fake, don't be somebody you're not, but be real. And that's so important with what you're doing. You need to figure out your story, and you need to learn how to tell it and tell it effectively. Now, something funny happened here, and I'm going to let Lisa tell this. Come forward.
I can speak.
You can speak now. So I had done this little exercise with Lisa, and I told her story, and this came to her. So she was talking to someone. Who were you talking to?
Wendy.
You were talking to Wendy. Some of you know Wendy Hurd. And what happened with Wendy?
Well, I was telling her how we were talking about telling your story, and I looked at her, and I was talking to her, and I'm like, for her, I think her story, I wish she was on, it goes back to, like, she had a career. She never really planned to have kids. She had her kids. She stays home now with her twins. Her husband works crazy long hours. And that's where she's going to connect with people. Like, how many women have husbands that leave at the butt crack of dawn and work all day? Like, she had to go to where I'm like, this is what I see your story as, I guess is that what you're looking for? I see your story as. And she was like, oh my God, like, thank you. Like, I love Carl, like, for that, because it was like, it clicked, like, and so
so basically what I'm saying is that sometimes
take someone else.
Take the opinion, asks other people for what they think. How do you come across? What's your story? And these are the people that know you really well.
Your spouse, your best friend.
Your spouse, your best friend. Say, what's my story? Because to you, it might be just, you know what? I found Beachbody and I lost 25 pounds. I feel great and I have a business. Not everybody can relate to that. Maybe they haven't lost weight yet. They don't have their own business. So what's your personal connection with them? There really isn't one. But if you take it back a couple years, and you say, whatever it was, I was working here, or I struggled, or, I went through a divorce or whatever, and find those points with that person that you can connect with. You will make an amazing connection. And it'll be so much easier to overcome objections because now they trust you more, because they can relate to you and they say, you know what? That's my person. That they're just like me. And that's so important. And that actually came up a little later as well in the training. Josh Spencer, who was the top coach in 2010, he talked a little bit about finding your market. Now, he was a big sports baseball guy. And so he was like looking for people to find, coaches or business partners or whatever. And he's looking all over the place. And then he finally realized and dawned on him that, you know what? My market is people like me. He's like, I like baseball. I like sports. I like going to bars. I like drinking beer. He's trying to be somebody he wasn't. So by being the person that you are, you can relate to someone because you know all the points that person likes. It gives you something more in common. Once again, comes back to they trust you more. If you're not a big, I'm trying to think of something here. Like, you're not, I don't know.
Focus.
I'm focused. If you don't run at all, you probably shouldn't go after the running group because you can't connect with them on their same level. You can't talk about, what it's like, how you feel after running a marathon, or, the highs and the lows that go along with running, but you may be, I look at somebody like Diane, and Diane is a big dance person. Now that's a great market to find people that like dance, and you can connect with them on a level that I can't talk to somebody about dance. I know jack about dancing. I'm awful at dancing.
He's a white boy.
Ask my wife. I'm horrible. So why would I try to even go after that market? It's not my niche. You have to find what works for you and who you can connect with, and that's who you have to go after. Lisa was like, I don't know what my market is. I'm like, your market is the divorced mom that wants to stay home. That's your market. Go after them. You could be the working mother, if you work 1 million hours a week, and, someone like Kim who commutes on the train and she's on the train for long hours. She has that story. She can connect with those, professional women that work crazy hours and don't have a lot of time at home with their kids, that are up at 4 a.m. and say, well, now I can maximize my time. I can take the kids to places, I was never able to do before because of Beachbody or, whatever it might be. Find that story in you. And that's a connection between story and finding your people that you have a niche with. If you combine those two, that's a crazy powerful tool. And you haven't once really talked about Shakeology, workouts, or even the business at that point. Those almost become secondary because once they believe in you as an individual, they want to follow you because now all of a sudden you've become a pillar. You become something standing up that can help them hold up their life and say, you know what, I want to be like this person. My world is crumbling around me. You know what, maybe I need to lose weight. Maybe I need financial freedom, but I'm afraid to step out from underneath this safety net because it might collapse on top of me. But if you have a strong individual that's there with you to act as the pillar, it's easier to take that step because they're holding it up for you and saying, you know what, I've been there. I've gone down this path and I can help you and we can go down it together and it's safe. And if you can connect with people like that, that's amazing. So that was one of the biggest things I took away from the meeting was that. And it made a really big impact on me. And, so much so that I came and I shared it with Lisa and she's sharing it now. And I think a lot of you can benefit from that. One of the things he also said is you want to write down your story. Once you figure it out, write it down. What was that?
I was going to say challenge him down this week.
Okay.
That's what I'm working on.
Lisa told me to challenge all of you, to figure out your story.
Write it down.
And write it down.
This week.
This week.
Start writing it down. You might not have notes on, but start writing it down.
Yeah, start writing the story. Outline it. You know, talk to people around you that know you and say, you know, when you look at me, what is my story? If you don't know it, bounce it off people. Bounce it off the people you know. And you may be very surprised that what you perceive as your story is not the story that people think when they think of you. You know, you may think only this little bit, but your story may be this big, or maybe that big, or that big, or that big, or bigger than my short T-Rex arms. So
nobody laughed.
Nobody laughed at my T-Rex arms joke. Oh, Meredith laughed. Thank you. Okay. So definitely something to do, and I think you could all benefit from it. Okay. One of the other things that we talked about, and this is kind of the next thing I'm going to move on to now that we've talked about that, is having a –
oh, my gosh. She's
my notes. Oh, there it is. I knew I had another page of notes here. Was talking about work ethic and basically having a championship work ethic. You know, most sports stars don't get to be where they are just based on talent. They work incredibly hard to be as successful as they are. And on the surface, it looks smooth as silk because we only see the finished result. We don't see what they do behind the scenes. Basically, the thing that came out is that you're never going to achieve your goals and you're never going to achieve success without sacrificing in your life. It's hard to hear. And that was one of the honest things that I loved about this event is they were so brutally honest with us. It really opened eyes. You know, one of the things that was actually Chris Reed, who's elite coach, and he was saying, you know, we're all busy. You know, people always come up with an excuse. It's this excuse, it's that excuse, it's this excuse, and it's I'm busy. And his quote was basically said, there's no such thing as Success Club for busy people. And there is no Success Club 3 for busy people. You know, everybody has the same standard. And everybody is busy in their own right doing different things. You know, so you can't look at something and just say, well, I'm busy, I can't do it. I can't find the time. You need to make the time. You know what? If you had a flat tire tomorrow, you'd make the time to get it fixed. If your child was sick, you would make the time to take care of them. If something is important to you in your life, you will make the time to do it. You know, if you're, a big TV watcher and your cable went out and cable can only come between these hours and these hours, you'd make the time to be home so that you can get your cable back or your internet. But you know what? You may say, I don't have time to work 1 hour a week on my Beachbody business. Bullshit. You have it. You choose not to do it. Yeah, I know it's hard to hear. And I know I'm talking to you and you and you and you and you and you and you.
Bring it down a notch.
But it's okay. True, guys. It's true. It's true. And you know what?
He's just as guilty.
I was just going to point the finger at me saying, I'm just as guilty. I'm full of excuses. And I know that. And I'm calling myself out on it, is that I know I'm full of excuses. And it's got to stop because I can't run a successful business full of excuses. You know, one of the things they said is that, and this was actually funny, is that if you don't succeed at this business, you have no one to blame but yourself.
I like Kim and
It's true. It's true. It's not your sponsor's fault. It's not your upline's fault. A great quote was that it's not the shitty website's fault. It's not Beachbody's fault. It's nobody's fault but your own, because you get out of this business what you put into it. And if you're passionate about it and you want it to succeed and you put in the time and you put in the effort, you will reap the rewards. Now, it doesn't come instantaneous. It comes with time. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. We've seen, how many times have we seen somebody come into this business, and I speak to a lot of you because a lot of you have been around a while, that come in sprinting out of the gate, shoot right up, do great, and then within a year, down they go because it's not sustainable. It takes time to build a solid core business. So if you're going slow at this business and you're taking your time, there's nothing wrong with that. I've been at this business for quite a while and I've taken it slow, but I built a very steady and solid foundation to build upon. And that reaps the benefits to me because I have residual income coming in. And although I haven't been working terribly hard, I admit it because I've been kind of lazy. I said lazy. Yeah. I still got benefit from it because it was a solid foundation. If I was just selling retail and I wasn't putting in the effort every month, I wouldn't have any, So it's important to build a solid foundation. If it's taking you time, that's a good thing. It's okay. We've all been there and we're all in this boat together and supporting each other, and, great success comes in time. Lisa wants to say something.
I just want to say something with the guy that I have my Zoom with every week with corporate. His big thing is it takes a long time to be an overnight success. So everybody we think just like came in and hit it. You look at the Nicole Joneses and the Keith Callahans and all them. They've busted their ass for 4 or 5 years. Kim has been at this a long time. Like, it's not as easy as it looks. We all put our best face out there